Hello, welcome to another episode of the Onwards and Upwards podcast with Shivani. Today, we are going to talk about ego, and honestly, I am really excited for this one. So, let's get started without any delay. We often speak of ego in a negative context, like you have so much ego, that person is totally acting out of their ego, etc. etc. But do we really know what ego actually is? From what I understand of it, ego is basically our mind left unattended, which means it is us operating on our autopilot mode. And the primary job of our autopilot mode is to protect us based on our past experiences. For example, you got very late at work, and basically, there are two roads you can take home. One is the longer way, but through a safe neighborhood, and the other one's a shortcut, but through a shady neighborhood. And you obviously want to reach home as soon as you can. But this is where your ego comes in and reminds you that, dude, no matter how late you get, it's way safer to take the longer route home because it's more safe based on your past experience. And for such scenarios where there is a need for us to be safe, our ego does a great job. But here's the catch. We don't always have to be quote-unquote safe. Understand that a large part of our ego or our autopilot mode is based on our brain's classic fight or flight response, which is what our ancestors needed a long time back to stay safe. In modern context, however, what usually happens is that when we face any sort of emotional distress, trauma, heartbreaks, triggers, anything of that sort, our mind goes like, oh, this is really very hurtful and I am making a note to stay away from such scenarios in the future, and builds up our ego around these experiences. Which means that our egos are basically building all these heart walls up to quote-unquote protect us. That's exactly why we are always trying to protect, defend and prove ourselves. That's how our ego operates. Let me give you another example. Say you always have had a bad luck when it comes to relationships and you have always found yourself heartbroken in such scenarios. So your ego goes like, this is really very hurtful and I need to protect you from this. So the next time, even if you are in a healthy relationship, your ego might prevent you, and this totally happens on a subconscious level because that's how our egos operate. You might end up sabotaging this healthy relationship in some way. You might find an excuse to get out of it, or you might be scared to commit. It could take thousands of forms because your ego is trying to protect you from this potential hurt that you have experienced in the past. The point is that unless you are consciously aware of the fact that you are operating from your ego, you are going to let your past dictate your present and your future because your ego is based on all those previous old experiences and is always on the lookout for potential quote-unquote danger. And unless you consciously choose to believe otherwise, you are going to keep repeating your old patterns based on your past experiences. Let's admit, despite your past experiences, you will have to take the risk of being vulnerable with someone if you wish to build a healthy relationship with them. You will have to go out there and apply for a new job, no matter how many times you have been rejected before. Because that's how you will attract new experiences in people that are different from your past. See, your ego always wants you to stay safe. It wants you to stay in your bubble of comfort. It doesn't want you to thrive because that involves taking risks. So it's important for you to recognize when you're acting out of your ego, because otherwise you might lose out on some amazing people and opportunities in your life. So sit down for a while, observe the ways in which your ego is talking to you. A friend might say, "Hi, you look tired today." And she might mean it well, but your ego might hear it as, "She has always been jealous of me and she doesn't even leave the slightest chance to make me feel bad about myself." Such thoughts that create fear, jealousy, anger, pride, or any sort of strong emotional reactions are usually the ego's doings, and it can really benefit all of us to keep those thoughts in check. And in case you really wish to work upon your ego, I found this blog that gives out a step-by-step process of doing the ego work. I will definitely link that in the description. To conclude, our egos are not necessarily bad. They are here to protect us and even necessary in many scenarios. But if you leave it unchecked and let it drive you, you would basically be letting your past drive you. So if you wish to attract different experiences, it's crucial you understand when your ego is talking to you. On that note, thank you so much for listening. It really means the world to me, and I really hope that this podcast helps you in some way. If you enjoyed listening to this, I think you might definitely enjoy my work on Instagram, so do check that out. I will link my Instagram handle in the description as well, and I will see you next time. Thanks again for tuning in. Lots of love.